day, learners. Today we are going to study about related acute angles and functions that are more than 90 degrees. We don't have any problem if our angles are less than 90 degrees because the values of these functions are all positive. But we have problems if we have an angle that is more than 90 degrees. So before we proceed to our related acute angles, let's have a circle here, class. In our circle, let us divide our circle into 4. So this is our circle. I just remove the circumference of our circle here, like this. Now we divide this into 4. This part here on the right side up is the first quadrant. This area here to the left upward is our second quadrant, and the area to the left downward is our third quadrant, and the area to the right downward is our fourth quadrant. Now the name of the first, second, third, and fourth, they don't change. They are always first, second, third, and fourth. Do not make this one as your first, or this one is your third, or this one is your second. No. We name it in the counterclockwise direction, starting from the top right corner. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. What's the purpose of knowing the quadrants in our circle? The purpose is because when we have an angle that is more than 90 degrees, that one can either be positive angles and negative angles. So let's have the positive and the negative angles first. An angle, class, can be thought as two rays. You have two rays like this, and one of the arm of our angle is called the initial side. That side is not moving. Sometimes we're calling it fixed side. So it is not moving. The other part, class, is the moving arm, and we call that the terminal arm. So in this case, it's like this, class. I'm going to show it like this. So this one is the initial side, or the fixed side, the side that is not moving. And this one, which is called the terminal arm, is the one that moves. It's like this. So this one is moving, and this arm is called the terminal arm. So the angle formed here is positive when the terminal arm of our angle is moving in a counterclockwise direction. So when it's moving in a counterclockwise motion like that, our angle is positive. So if we have this one, we show it by an arrow, meaning that our terminal arm is moving in a counterclockwise direction, and the example is we have positive 30 degrees, meaning that is positive. So 0, this is always the 0, and this one is the 90 degrees. So if we have 120, the 120 will be here, and that one is the angle, and the angle is still positive, 120. We have here the 180 degrees, which is positive. We have 200 degrees, which is positive from here. It's from this one. And then this one is 300. From here is 300. Okay. Now, what about the negative angles? The negative angles, the terminal side of that angle is moving in a clockwise direction, meaning if we have this angle here, it means that the terminal arm is moving in a clockwise direction. So the angle formed here, if you have an angle here like this angle here, I will put the arrow class, meaning that the terminal side moves from the 0 downward clockwise. So this one is negative 30 degrees. So if you are given the angles, whether they are positive or negative, we can determine the quadrant. So for example, 150 degrees, what quadrant is that? So from here, 150 is here, so that is in the second quadrant. If we have negative 100, which quadrant will that angle be? So we have this one, and then with negative 90 is here, and negative 100 is here. So our negative 100 angle is in the third quadrant. What if our angle is negative 220? So negative 220 from here 0, this one is negative 90, this one is negative 180 degrees. Therefore, that one is in the second quadrant. What if our angle is negative 300 degrees? That will be in the first quadrant. Okay, let's have the related angle. We have related angle that is more than 90 degrees, more than 180 degrees, more than 270 degrees. So before that, let's review our angles. In our angles, we have the vertical angles. And what can we say about the vertical angles? They are equal. So we have two lines here, the vertical and the horizontal. And from this one, we have vertical angles. We have one. This angle here is equal to the angle here. This angle here is equal to the angle here. Okay. So in vertical angles, usually we have a minimum of two pairs, which are equal. They are equal. The pairs are equal. This equal. This one are equal. Okay, class. We have our related angles here and the angles that are more than 90 degrees. So we have our quadrants here. We have the first quadrant, second, third, and fourth. Now let's have an angle here, class. Okay, and let's call this one as angle theta, our acute angle. Now our acute angle has a related acute angle in the second quadrant, in which they are equal. And also in the third quadrant, we have this related acute angle also. And the fourth quadrant, we have also this acute related angle, and they are all equal. Okay. So when we solve an angle which is more than 90 degrees, it's better always to determine or solve for angle theta if angle theta is not given. But if it is given, we can use that one directly to solve for the related angle. So let us have some formula for the theta here. So for the theta in the first quadrant, there's no problem because that is the theta then. For the second quadrant, this theta here in the second quadrant, this one is the first quadrant. In the second quadrant, class, this one is our theta, the related angle of this acute theta. Now, we are going to find this one, this angle here, which is the related angle, which is more than 90 degrees. And let us call this one as angle theta. So in the second quadrant, class, we have 180 degrees. We subtract that angle beta, and we have the angle theta. So here, the second quadrant, we have 180 degrees minus that beta there will give us the theta. Okay. In the third quadrant, class, third quadrant, what is the theta? So the theta here will be, okay, this one, let's say this one is our beta. So the theta will be beta, the entire, minus the 180 degrees. So minus 180 degrees. That is our related acute angle to the third quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, our theta is from here up to there is our beta now. So to get the theta, So it is only 360 degrees minus the beta here will give us the theta. Okay. So it is like this. Given, for example, so 50 degrees. So there's no problem, it's 50 degrees. Okay. What's the related angle of this one? The related angle of this one is, we subtract this one from 180. So you have the first one, this is 180. 180 minus that 50 degrees, because this one is 50, this one is also 50. So minus 50 degrees. And we have 130 degrees. This one is in the second quadrant. This one is the related angle of 50 degrees in the second quadrant. In the third quadrant, so in the third quadrant plus, so we have again the 50 here, third quadrant. Can you see the theta? The theta is 50, and we have the 180. So what I'm going to do is just add the 180 to theta, or theta to 180 degrees. So we have that related angle there, 180 plus 50 here. So we have 230 degrees. That is our related angle in the third quadrant when our theta is 50 degrees. What about in the fourth quadrant? In the fourth quadrant, our theta, this one is 50. So we subtract it from 360 degrees, 360 minus that theta, which is 50 degrees here, will give us 310 degrees. That's how to find the related angle of our acute related angle. Okay. What about if the beta is given? So if the beta is given, in the first quadrant, of course, there is no beta there. It's less than 90 degrees. If our beta, for example, is second quadrant, the beta is given as 160 degrees. So either we subtract it from 180 or 180 subtracted from 160. And then from 360 we subtract everything, the beta or the theta. Or we can subtract this from 180. So 180 minus 160 is 20 degrees. But we can't do the opposite, which is 160 degrees minus 180. It will give us a negative answer. So no negative. If you have a negative answer, then invert it. It's the opposite. Okay. In the third quadrant, if we have 250 degrees, so it's more than 180. We cannot subtract 180 minus 250 because it will give us a negative. Therefore, we subtract, or for example, we subtract that 250 degrees from 360. Our answer will be more than 90 degrees. So it is not the answer there. So here, we subtract 180 degrees. So here we have 7. So we have 70 degrees. That is the related acute angle in the third quadrant. And then in the fourth quadrant, because this one is more than 270 already, we have 300 degrees. So we have 270 minus 300. No, we are not subtracting or adding 270. Forget 270. So just like the 90, we are not using the 90. We are using only the 180, 2 180s, and then 360. So here we have 360 minus 300. So that's 360 minus 300 give us 60 degrees. That is the related acute angle of 300 degrees. So it's better not to memorize this one, class. But if you are going to memorize, just draw the diagram. It's easier if you have the diagram. You can see it visually.